Hello there, my very good friends. On today's WWE news, we're going to talk about the potential real reason Steve Austin is headlining WrestleMania 38. On top of that, WWE's next Saudi Arabia show has been revealed. A major player in the company has signed a long-term contract extension, and we're going to kick things off by talking about the major WrestleMania return that might be in the works that isn't Cody Rhodes. They've got another one like DJ Khaled. Anyway, I'm Andy Murray.
I'm Michael Sidgwick.
And this is the news. Once again, Adam Wilborn is currently in the skies on his way to something called WrestleMania. And we are here. Don't worry. We've got all his gimmicks intact, all your favourites. I haven't got any other ones. Total lie. We're going to do this story now. Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon's coming in for WrestleMania weekend.
Of course he is.
Yep, that's the thing. PW Insider's Mike Johnson coming through with the report yesterday. Now, there's currently no word on whether or not Shane will actually appear on WrestleMania Night 1 or Night 2, which take place on Saturday and Sunday. But WWE are bringing him into Dallas for the weekend. So speculate away. That is something we will certainly be doing in the Twitter questions. So
stick around
for that one later on. But he's been out of WWE since the Royal Rumble, when he had a particularly heavy-handed approach to booking himself that caused flare-ups with Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, his dad, and ultimately ended up with Shane getting fired, sort of. WWE quietly let him go in the wake of that. There was a lot of backstage heat. It was the least and most surprising story of the month, and covering it absolutely ruled. Here comes the money indeed, Michael Sidgwick. What do you reckon?
This is absolutely incredible. Like, I understand that Vince McMahon is an erratic individual who's prone to changing his minds and raw scripts on the day of, but this is a man, right, who literally put his son up for adoption in January. I saw the papers.
Yeah.
He put him up for adoption. He's excommunicated from the family, and he's wanted no part of his large adult son anymore and his stupid MMA cosplaying ways.
Tiny Tim McMahon.
It is absolutely ridiculous ego. And now he's back, because of course he is, and you know why he's back. It's because he was a star in the Attitude Era, and he requires no building, and no promotion, and no work, and no conviction. He does need some water, though. Because he sweats an awful lot. So I'm worried about his hydration. Not really, he's a prick. But this is just, we're going to speculate on what he's going to be doing later on. And I think they legitimately, even the synthetic company, can have a little bit of fun, but we'll drill into that later on.
We most certainly will. And speaking of a little bit of fun, do you want to know why Steve Austin on the KO show is headlining Night 1 and not a match?
Why?
Well, according to Dave Meltzer, this is speculation, by the way. It's not, it is what it is. Dave speaking about this on Wrestling Observer Radio. WWE might be afraid that fans are going to see Steve Austin and then just leave, which it's moderately understandable. Well, no, it's totally understandable, because Steve Austin is obviously the biggest name across both of these shows who is appearing. And on Night 1, you don't have like the big match, which is theoretically Roman versus Brock, to compensate for that. So hey, I get it. Now, this is a situation that has changed a lot over the past few weeks. It's WWE, man. Like, they change their mind all the time. So at one point, they had the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey. That was penciled into headline Night 1. Now it's going to be the KO show again, apparently. Who the heck knows? It could change again by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. We probably won't know for sure until we actually get to the show. But yeah, I mean, this situation has gone from, he's wrestling, to he might not be wrestling, to he's turned down the opportunity to wrestle. Now he's going to be on the KO show. He's not going to fight. Now it's going to be a confrontation with a brawl. Now it's not going to be. Now he's going to do a beer bath or whatever. I made that last one up. But yeah, it's all over the place, isn't it, mate?
It is. I can kind of understand where they're coming from, because if you look at the specific way in which Steve Austin has returned, it's kind of like a glorified house show masquerading as WrestleMania for this specific segment. It's all been very weird. It's all been very focused on getting punters in the area to make the WrestleMania stadium look like WrestleMania. So I can kind of understand where they're coming from, because if the idea is there's a lot of big, burly Texan blokes who are coming in, they might be of the opinion where, I love me some Steve Austin. I love me some Steve Austin. These women, though, I'm not so sure about that. So if they put Austin on like midway through the show, and they say, who's on last? And then they go, well, there's that's a girl's name. I'm getting out of here. And then they go and then they leave. Maybe.
You sound like, that scene on The Office where Michael Scott says, I do declare loads and loads. Yeah, I mean...
Not sure about these women, though.
I mean, I can't really beat that. Yes, Steve Austin's the biggest name on the card, so theoretically, if you put the biggest name on the card before last, yeah.
I mean, incredibly snarky and facetious, of course,
yes.
but realistically, it's a 2-night WrestleMania, the most stupendous of all, of the three. Of the three.
One of which was in an empty building.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But the fact that it's got 2 nights, it means that you can send the crowd home in a good mood on the first night, rev them up for the second night, which has got the real serious canonical business of a title unification match, which is the real ending. So they can take the piss with a glorified angle. That will be fun, regardless of what a snarky prick I am.
I'd rather the angle than the match myself as well. We were in our teens when Steve Austin was at his peak. We don't need to see that man wrestling again, do we? Really?
This is going to be biased, right? If it's in AEW, I think it'll be good. Because they do Sting. If they can,
Sting rules.
If they can do Sting well, and they could probably do Austin well, it's up to WWE. The standard's been set now, legitimately. Like, I'm not being biased. I'm not playing into the bias show.
Well, you are on the payroll.
Well, we are, but I'm not just playing into it. Like, there's a literal standard has been set now for getting performers in their early 60s doing magic things in pro wrestling again. That's the comparison people are going to make.
The power of Sting is undeniable. Anyway, do you know what else is undeniable? The quality of this bad boy that I can't really reach.
There you got it.
It's our beer. Clickbait thumbnail, yellow arrow and everything. We've produced it with our friends at Top Rope Brewing in time for WrestleMania. And if you want to pick it up, you can do so by following the link down below. It's available as part of our WrestleMania pack, where you can get a couple of cans of this and a bunch of other delicious beers from the Top Rope range.
They do a good sour.
They do a really good sour. They do a good stout as well. Big fan. The Canadian Destroyer in particular. I'm not sure if it's around at the moment, but if it is, it's sensational. Anyway, if you want to pick this up, the link's below. UK only at the moment. Free shipping if you use the code Here's Why. However, they make sensational beers. I would sit here and put this stuff over even if we weren't working with them. That's how good this stuff is. And I'm a total beer nerd prick. So believe me, I know what I'm talking about in this regard. Yeah, man, it's a really nice beer across the board. Obviously, we're a little bit biased, but it's a nice, sessionable but deceptively strong IPA. It's not too bitter. It's nice and smooth. It does have you get a little bit of that bitterness in the aftertaste, but all around a really well balanced beer that I will be quaffing over the summer.
It's as good an all-rounder as Miro.
Sensational. Couldn't have put it better. Couldn't have thought of a better all-rounder. Let's talk about the next story. Saudi Arabia. All right, this report comes from Andrew Zalian. He's published it on the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer website. Of course, he produces a lot of stuff for them. September, that's when they're going back. WWE's going back in September. No word on a specific date as of yet, but it is likely that WWE will revive TLC for Saudi Arabia. Of course, there was no TLC last year. The last one was in 2020. This comes on the back of them doing Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia for the first time this year. September's going to be a busy-ass month for them, international travel-wise, because they got the mooted stadium show in the United Kingdom as well. A lot of planes going to be flown for the purposes of this. But yeah, there you go. I mean, listen, you know my thoughts on the Saudi Arabian show. I'll watch it for coverage, obviously, but these things are effectively paid propaganda as part of a sports washing campaign to rehabilitate the regime, to rehabilitate the image of a regime that has one of the worst human rights records in the world. WWE earns $50 million per show for this. These shows are what they are. You cannot deny what these shows. It's objectively true that that's what these things are when you see like Goldberg doing dances and things in pre-tapes and stuff. Literal propaganda segments. The quality of them I don't think matters really. But yeah, here we are. I know people don't like us talking about this stuff, but it's a story today, so hey.
Indeed. In a word, insidious. It's one thing to do some absolute bollocks that everyone can kind of laugh at, like the greatest Royal Rumble. It's better than it's 20 more better than the normal Royal Rumble. That's how great it is. No one took it seriously. It was a piss take. It was ridiculous. If you can take away the moral aspects, it's a stupid show that people have gained a bit of schadenfreude joy from, and like on occasion.
Kane's week.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever. That stupid old prick. It's getting insidious now. They are conflating the weird Saudi outsized glorified house show spectacle with like WWE canon. Obviously we've had Elimination Chamber now. We're getting TLC. Are we so far away from SummerSlam? Realistically, is it just going to become that's what WWE is now? Was that indeed the intention all along? If there was uproar at the start of this propaganda arrangement, there would have been significantly more uproar if they had said, right, we're doing like Backlash in Saudi Arabia, like a real WWE pay-per-view. The fact that they've built towards this is insidious, dare I say it, pretty astute, quite clever. It's a better long-term storyline than anything they've done on telly that doesn't involve Roman Reigns, honestly. Yeah. For how they are reconflating these two, these different WWEs are becoming one and becoming yet more ugly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we'll keep talking about this as the story develops. Final story of the day, we're going to talk about Paul Heyman. He has signed a WWE contract extension. He actually signed it back in late 2021. He has revealed as much while doing an appearance on the Sports Media podcast with Richard Deitch. Very sorry if I've mispronounced that. As we've established before, I'm a complete idiot. But he's talking about it here. I'll just read some quotes from Paul. It was public knowledge that my contract came up last year, and I kept it very close to the vest because I'm not one of those people that A, want to negotiate in public, and B, I'm reading an awful lot lately about how long people signed for and how much, and I just never want that to be me. He continued, stating that he re-signed with WWE last year. It was a long-term agreement, and they created a situation where I would have been a fool not to take them up on the offer, so I'm locked in for a while. He has also confirmed that this new deal allows him to do some stuff out with WWE as well. No surprises here. He's a big component of the Roman Reigns Bloodline act on SmackDown. He's a big part of the WrestleMania program, of course. His loyalties being brought into question now they've been established. It was all a ruse. But yeah, no real surprise. He's been there. 2012 was his last comeback, wasn't it? A decade. And we're probably going to get the best part of a decade more.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely in favour of this news personally. As someone who watches WWE as part of their job, Paul Heyman is one of the few reasons that I actually really like it. Everything he's involved in is great. He has a creative hand in it. Long may that continue. God damn it, this company needs a different creative voice, and his work with the Roman Reigns stuff has been absolutely phenomenal of late. I was never, truthfully, the biggest fan of monologue Roman Reigns, or of family melodrama with the Usos Roman Reigns. Fragile eggshell ego, franchise sports player Roman Reigns in a tracksuit, booting off because he's very defensive about his position is incredible character work, and Paul Heyman obviously has a lot to do with that. And even if this association ends at some point, if Paul Heyman's entrusted to do something with a new Paul Heyman guy, long may this continue, because WWE has to be good at points, and usually all the points point towards Paul.
And he is tremendous. We're going to talk now about Twitter questions. That was a smooth transition. We got
it's not as smooth as that beer.
No, oh, hey, look at that. That's a smooth transition, my friends. The first one for this video comes from Mr. Ghost, who asks the following. Do you have a pay-per-view ritual? If so, what is it? I tend to make really unhealthy, delicious food and wash it down with a good beer. Much the same, my friend. Although if we're covering on the night and we're overnight and we're working and you're not sleeping, it's one coffee 2 hours before the show starts, another one as it's starting. That gives me just enough energy to sustain through and work a couple of hours after without being awake for 2 days or whatever. Delicious food, absolutely. Usually a pizza or some other garbage that's going to make me fat. And it's pretty simple. If I'm watching at home, I'm just sitting on the sofa with a blanket and a nice mug of hot chocolate. Really, like, just a serene image.
I would bloody love a pay-per-view ritual, but being from England, I can't have that. Having two kids makes it yet more impossible. Back in the day, before I had children, before I worked here, when I was in a different industry altogether, I would always take the Monday off and just have a split shift sleep pattern where I would just wake up at 1 o'clock. I have to do that now in a desperate scramble to get the kids to sleep. Hope to hell I can get 3-4 hours sleep. Watch the pay-per-view with a cup of tea. I can't really snack during it realistically because I've eaten during the day and it's in that weird I should be asleep but I'm awake. God, I wish I was American sometimes. Only sometimes.
You got a real boost when it comes to show times over there, don't you scamps?
You know what? I would love to just go to America, right? Just to hire a house.
Yeah.
Just to watch it in a house at a normal time, and I'm adjusted to the times when I don't even want to go to the arenas of the stadiums.
Yeah.
I just want to watch it at a normal time.
Nice little one-day trip. Sounds good to me. Right, our next question comes from Adam Blair. And basically all of the WWE questions I was asked today in my thread were about Cody or Shane. So I've combined the two here. Adam asks, if Big Bad Vincent decides to swerve us and debut Cody on WrestleMania Raw after WrestleMania, instead of doing it against Seth, obviously, who sucks the life out of the building more as Rollins' opponent? Shane McMahon, Goldberg, Gable, Stevenson, or the flipping Fiend? You put the Fiend in, I'm asking the question.
My favourite scenario, I don't think they would. The thing is with Shane McMahon is like we view him in a completely different way that WWE does. They could theoretically have Shane McMahon in mind back in the fold, apparently, to work a upper mid-card grudge feud for 3 pay-per-views. We know how they do this with someone, right? They don't see him as this dickhead figure of fun who has no business being out there anymore like we do. So as tempting as it is to sort of fantasy book some scenario where Vince McMahon comes out and, you know, with his old man, and it's Shane McMahon. And the idea is you get the anxiety of, oh, don't get this crazy, awesome quasi-interpromotional dream match between Cody and Seth Rollins, and then Vince goes, oh, I'm joking. And it turns out it's actually Cody Rhodes. That would be a great swerve, great fake out. But for them to do that would be a tacit acknowledgement of, we know you don't want to see this idiot Shane McMahon. And do you think Shane McMahon, with his ego, would put himself forward to be like a decoy that everyone is so relieved
He'd want to go over?
Exactly. So, I don't know what this is, to be perfectly honest. My personal opinion would be like, Shane McMahon would annoy me the most because he would think he could go 20 minutes with Seth. At least Goldberg would just be the mercenary that he is and get it done in 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah, Goldberg, yeah, exactly. It would be quick, it would be painless. I have 2 scenarios in my head. The angel on my shoulder wants to see them just do Cody straight up, no swerve, no twists or anything like that.
That's the ideal option.
Yeah, like that'd be fun. It would be objectively the best thing. However, the devil on my shoulder wants them to completely misread the room, put Shane McMahon out there, have him work 20 minutes with Seth, and then save Cody for Raw, which would be a complete and utter disaster. But remember Royal Rumble 2015. That's all I'm saying with that, and 2014.
What does the devil on your shoulder sound like? What's his little voice? Let me in.
It's the Fiend. Actually, can we do this in the microphone? Yes. Anyway, our last question... Oh, shouldn't have done that. Comes from Tim Upton, who asks, hey lads, I can't help feeling that although WWE seemingly know how huge Cody will be, they'll still have him put Seth over at Mania as some kind of flex. Am I just paranoid, or is this fear justified? I think this fear is plenty justified by years and years and years of Vince McMahon refusing to put someone else's guy. I know he was in WWE first, but he became a bigger star outside of WWE. WCW, even going to Sting against Triple H at WrestleMania, it's his playbook to a T. I don't know if he's going to be that mental with this situation.
No. Realistically, if you look at all the ex-WCW guys that he brought in, seemingly to either spitefully bury or whatever, DDP, realistically, I thought he was great in WCW, but his star power had waned through virtue of being in WCW. Goldberg, neutered. Sting, they had the luxury of sort of putting these guys in their place because there was no other place for them to go and earn actual money. It's different now with AEW, and the idea is that this is going to essentially act, this Cody run, if they're not completely incompetent to a level even I can see. This is like a prospectus. The Cody run is a prospectus for WWE itself. If you can get over an AEW and make your money there to a degree, carve out your artistic legacy and really get over, come do your retirement fund over here. Look what we've done for a Cody Rhodes, for example. So there's spite and there's business. Vince McMahon's incredible at both. But I think business will win in the end here.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for joining us for today's 2 news videos. What a joy. You can follow us on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. You can follow Michael on Twitter at
Sidgwick.
You can follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Heffalump. Goodbye.